Hello everybody, in this lesson I will revise what additive inverse is and then I will teach you how to solve equations in algebra. To solve problems in algebra, you can set up an algebraic equation. What must be added to 35 to get 40? You can set up an equation for this and the equation will be x plus 35 is equal to 40, where x represents the what must be added part. It is clear that 5 must be added. An equation consists of 3 parts. There is a left-hand side, an equal sign, and a right-hand side. An equation must always be balanced. This means that the left-hand side must be equal to the right-hand side. Now, before I will explain how to solve an algebraic equation, I want to remind you of something from a previous course where I explained the concept of additive inverse in mathematics. Additive inverse. Every integer has an opposite. The opposite of 3 is negative 3. The opposite of negative 23 is plus 23. Two positive and negative numbers that correspond are called each other's additive inverse. If we add any number to its additive inverse, the answer is 0. Example. Give the additive inverse of the following numbers. So A, 21's additive inverse will be negative 21. B, negative 53's additive inverse will be plus 53. And you don't have to write the plus, I just do it for you to understand a little bit better. C, minus 102's additive inverse will be plus 102. D, 6,200's additive inverse is negative 6,200. Now I'm going to show you how to solve an algebraic equation. So the question is solve for x. And then I give you this equation, x minus 3 is equal to 4. Now what you do is you want to get rid of the minus 3 because you want to solve x. Solving x means you will get x on the left hand side equal to the number on the right hand side, the constant. So to get rid of minus 3, you will find its additive inverse. And you know that the additive inverse of minus 3 is plus 3. Because this is an equation, you have to balance your equation. And that means what you do on the left, you have to do on the right. So when you add plus 3 on the left, you will also add plus 3 on the right. So you are balancing your equation. Now, why did you add the additive inverse? So that you can get rid of the minus 3. You can say negative 3 plus 3 is nothing. And then you are left with x on the left hand side is equal to, and then on the right hand side you add your constants, your numbers. 4 plus 3 is 7. So can you see you solved x? Now, I want to show you that we can test whether our answer is indeed correct. And the way we test is you take your equation and you write down the left-hand side. So the left-hand side of your equation is x minus 3. And then your right-hand side is equal to 4. So now you're going to test whether this number, x is equal to 7, your solution, if it satisfies your equation. So in x's place, I will substitute 7 on the left-hand side. 7 minus 3 is 4, and the right hand side is 4. Therefore, the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. Therefore, I solved x. X is equal to 7 is the right solution. Let's do more equations. Solve for x, and then I give you x plus 2 is equal to 4. So what you want to do is you want to isolate x on the left hand side. What's in the way is plus 2. The additive inverse for plus 2 is negative 2. That means you will subtract negative 2 on the left, and you have to balance your equation. What you do left, you do right. Therefore, you will also subtract negative 2 on the right hand side. Back to the left hand side. Plus 2 minus 2 will cancel each other out, and you're left with x. And on the right hand side, 4 minus 2 is 2. We can quickly test whether x is equal to 2 is indeed the solution by substituting 2 back into x's place. And then you end with 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. The right hand side is 4. Therefore, x is equal to 2 is the solution. Let's do another example. X minus 5 is equal to 9. So what we do is we want to get rid of negative 5. The additive inverse for negative 5 is plus 5. What we do on the left, we do on the right. Therefore, minus 5 plus 5 will cancel, and I'm left with x on the left hand side is equal to, and on the right hand side, 9 plus 5 is 14. Let's do another example. Equation 1 plus x is equal to 7. Then I want to isolate x. I want to make x the subject of the formula on the left hand side. So what's in the way is the 1. Can you remember, if there's no sign, it means there is an invisible plus. So to get rid of the plus 1, the additive inverse for plus 1 is minus 1. What I do on the left, I do on the right. So I will also subtract 1 on the right hand side. And then 1 minus 1 will cancel, and I'm left with x is equal to 7 minus 1 is equal to 6. Let's solve for x. And now I give you 2x is equal to 8. So can you see the progression? Now suddenly, in front of x, in other words, the coefficient of x is now 2 and not 1, like the previous examples. Now you have to understand that the inverse operation for multiplication is division. Now where does this fit in? Remember, whenever the 2, the coefficient, stands directly next to the variable like this, it means it's multiplication. So in fact, when you see 2x, it means 2 times x. So then the inverse operation for multiplication is division. So to get rid of the 2, I will divide the 2 away. But again, this is an equation and I have to balance my equation. So what I do on the left, I do on the right. So on the right hand side, I also have to divide by 2. And now I can say 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes in itself once, and on the left I'm left with x. And on the right, 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes into 8 4 times. X is equal to 4. The next equation, minus 3x is equal to 15. So what you want to do is you want to get rid of the negative 3. But you can't do the additive inverse. You have to divide away the minus 3 since there is an invisible multiplication. So on the left hand side, I will divide by minus 3. What I do on the left, I do on the right. I will also divide by negative 3. Then on the left hand side, I can say a minus divided by a minus is a plus, and 3 will cancel. So I'm left with x on the left hand side, And then on the right hand side, in front of 15, there's an invisible plus. And then I will say a plus divided by a negative is a negative. And 3 will go into itself once, and 3 goes into 15 5 times. Therefore, x is equal to -5. Let's solve for x. And I give you 2x plus 10 is equal to 0. So your aim is to isolate x. We want to get rid of plus 10. Therefore, we will say the additive inverse for plus 10 is -10. And what I do on the left, I do on the right. So I will also subtract 10 on the right hand side. Then 10 minus 10 will cancel, and on the left hand side I'm left with 2x equals 2, and on the right hand side 0 minus 10 is -10. Now I want to solve x, so the 2 is in the way. I get rid of the 2 by dividing both sides by 2, and then I can say 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes in itself once, and on the left hand side I'm left with x. And on the right hand side, if there's no sign in front of the 2, there's an invisible plus. So I can say a minus divided by a plus is a minus, and then 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes into 10 5 times, and the answer x is equal to -5. Let's do another one. Minus x plus 6 is equal to 9. So my aim is to get rid of the plus 6. The additive inverse for plus 6 is -6. So I subtract 6 on the left, I subtract 6 on the right. On the left hand side, plus 6 minus 6 will cancel, and I'm left with -x is equal to. And on the right hand side, 9 minus 6 is 3. Now, the question said solve positive x, not negative x. So I need to get rid of this minus there. But you agree, if there's nothing, no coefficient, there's an invisible 1. So what you have to do is you have to divide by -1 both sides. What you do on the left, you do on the right. And then on the left hand side, you can say a minus divided by a minus is a plus, and x divided by 1 is just x. And on the right hand side, if there's no sign in front of 3, there's an invisible plus. And then you can say a plus divided by a minus is a minus, 3 divided by 1 is 3. On this one, the question says solve for a. The previous sums, the question said solve for x, but it doesn't matter. A, x, y, it's a variable. Let's just solve the variable. Now when you look at your equation, suddenly you find 2 bracket a plus 1 close bracket is equal to 6. So your aim is to get rid of the bracket first. And there's something we call the distributive property of multiplication that we dealt with earlier. And that is now where we're going to multiply in the 2 into both terms. And then that becomes 2a plus 2 is equal to 6. And now the sum looks familiar, where you want to get rid of the plus 2. Additive inverse of plus 2 is -2. What you do on the left, you do on the right. So you subtract -2 both sides. And then you will say plus 2 minus 2, you're left with 2a. And on the right hand side, 6 minus 2 is 4. Now there's 2a is equal to 4. To get rid of the 2, we will divide the 2 away. But what we do on the left, we do on the right. So we will also divide by 2 on the right hand side. And now we will say 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes in itself once, and we're left with a on the left hand side. And on the right hand side, 2 goes in itself once, 2 goes in itself twice. Therefore, a is equal to 2. Let's do another example. -3 bracket a minus 2 is equal to 9. So first of all, we will use the distributive property of multiplication and we will multiply in the negative 3. And then it becomes negative 3a plus 6. Why? Because a minus times a minus is a plus. Equals 9. Now we can get rid of the plus 6. The additive inverse for plus 6 is negative 6. So when I subtract negative 6 on the left hand side, I will also do it on the right hand side to balance my equation. And then plus 6 minus 6 is nothing. And on the left, I'm left with negative 3a. And on the right hand side, 9 minus 6 is equal to 3. Now I want to solve a, and it's the minus 3, the coefficient that's in the way. So to get rid of minus 3, I will divide both sides by negative 3. And then I will say a minus divided by a minus is a plus, and 3 and 3 will cancel each other out. So on the left hand side, I'm left with 1. And on the right hand side, on this 3, there's an invisible plus. So you will say a plus divided by a minus is a minus, and 3 goes in itself once, 3 goes in itself once. The answer, a is equal to negative 1. In the next video, I will discuss word problems that lead to equations. Click on the video in the left-hand corner to take you straight to the next video.